Okay, we are live for another Trainer Talk 176. Today we're going to be talking about the 3 daily wins framework. Is that right?
Yes.
Talking about mental, physical, and spiritual health for creating whole personal health.
Yes.
Nailed it. Bethany, let's kick it off. You got the notes.
Cool. So inspiration from this came partially from the work that I've been doing in my mindset certification, and then I also saw it on TikTok, and I thought that it was really cool, so I took screenshots of it. And so it says that every day you should have a mental, a physical, and spiritual win or practice for that personal whole growth. Because if you're missing one or the other, you just don't feel as balanced, you don't feel as whole. So having everything, it works everything together and improves your life as a whole. So these little wins, they're all interconnected, creates a feedback loop that enhances your overall well-being. And as far as actionable steps for each, we can talk a little bit about each of them. So to start, we'll talk about mental wins, and that's going to be through learning, creating, reflection, listening to a podcast or reading a book that is, you're learning something, whether it can be something like a new skill, learning a new skill, or learning more about something that you're interested in, or it could be something like schoolwork if you are still in school, or maybe further education, a course, something like that.
Before we go on to physical, let's find out what's something that we do for mental wins every day. Do you want
to? Read articles on my phone, read a book, listen to a podcast.
What kind of stuff are you listening to or reading?
It's constantly changing. Most of the things that I read are historical.
Okay.
And some of the things that I listen to through podcasts are about leadership, self-improvement, communication skills, things like that. So, yeah. Yep.
I would say the thing I do just about daily is listening to a podcast, and I like to do that while I'm walking.
Cool.
I feel like
I got double whammy there for mental
I
wins.
guess. Yeah, not intentionally, but I feel like I just comprehend things better as I'm walking.
Oh,
Just because there's a feedback loop.
Yeah.
Ties together.
Yeah. So yeah, that's probably the thing that I do the most is podcasts.
Well, I do an array of things, I would say. So I do multiple Zooms every week with other gym owners, where we're constantly kind of interchanging ideas and doing things that can help the gyms. Listening to podcasts. So when I'm driving, instead of listening to the radio, I typically listen to a podcast that's some sort of personal development or something I want to learn more about. And then every night I read a book, even if it's just a couple pages. I try to get 10 to 20 minutes in, or 5 to 15 pages every night of some sort of self-development book or something, again, that I'm interested in learning more about. So those would be the different ways I think I get my mental in for learning and things like that.
Yep. The podcasts were very big for me when I was driving a lot. So if you have a commute to work, even if it's 20 minutes, you can listen to part of the podcast and learn on your way in and on the way home. Or like if you have a trip, I've also listened to audiobooks when I have very long drives as well. So that's another good one. Or like if you're walking, listening to something like that. I've also done plenty of courses that I'll work on each day or like a couple times a week. And I also do a weekly Zoom on Wednesdays as far as the business director management type growth. And then just always learning on different platforms, like if it's YouTube or just searching different things and trying to learn more each day. Different topics seem to come and go. About every 2 weeks I get a new hyperfixation on something, and then I dive into it for 2 weeks, and then I'm like, okay, I keep running into the same repeating stuff now, and so I move to something else. maybe that's why I know a thing or two. And random things, just because of
Random
that.
facts.
Random facts, that's why it's all over the place. But that's what I like to do, and then I'm going to start reading more again as my wind down. I've definitely gotten out of that habit, and I want to start doing that again. So the reading, the listening to podcasts or audiobooks, I can do it anywhere, and that's huge.
I've practiced recently too, just like sitting in silence. So like,
It's hard to do.
very hard to do. And so it's a mental challenge. It's a mental challenge for me. So I'm trying to build mental fortitude through that because like,
It's also spiritual.
yeah, exactly. So it kind of fits in both. But something's always being received and decoded in my head, like whether it's me talking to somebody, a podcast, what I'm reading, a class that I'm taking, or like all day. So just for me to take like 15, even 10 minutes just to sit there, it's hard. Like I can try it sometime, but it's hard. So it's a mental challenge, and I would say that's a win for me. And then another thing that I just thought of while you were talking was doing like, there's lots of different things you could do. The detox from your phone, sending your phone away for an entire day, that's a mental challenge.
Yeah.
Or not taking it in with you to wherever, to the family gathering, going out to dinner, leave your phone in the car. Even that, I think, counts as a mental challenge. Or I'll occasionally do a fast, that was pretty hard. It's always hard for me. It never gets any easier. But it's just a way for me to try and build that mental toughness and like discipline and being able to push through something that you really don't want to.
Mm-hmm.
So less on the educational side, but more on like the building of the
mental side.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. That's I have an app that blocks. You can choose what apps to block, and there's no way you can go in and undo it, even if you delete the app.
Yeah.
Like you can delete the app, and it'll still be there until the end of the day.
Yeah.
So it really does force you into whatever you want. So I have my social media blocked during the week until 5 p.m., which I'm usually working until 7 or 8 anyways. And so by the time I get home, I don't have that much time to scroll. So I can still scroll and look at Instagram or TikTok and Facebook if I want to, but I end up running out of time before it blocks it again at 9:15 p.m.
That's crazy.
But I don't miss it as much as you think you would, and I spend way less time on social media overall, and I feel a lot better due to that. And then I also do that on the weekends, but I just do it for earlier in the day. Like you don't want to start your day scrolling.
Right.
So at least block it for that amount of time. I use the app that's called Freedom, but there's lots of different apps out there. That's the one that I use, and I can schedule like multiple block schedules with that. On the next one, physical wins, which we obviously cover a lot being in a gym.
We're really good at that.
We're great at doing some physical wins, but moving your body, fueling it well, and honoring its capabilities. So it supports the physical health, supports your ability to think clearly, connecting deeply with yourself and others. When you're in your best health physically, then mentally and spiritually you're going to be in a better place too. And some ideas for those physical wins, just like your exercise and movement, you get the endorphins and mood boost and mental clarity from your exercise, which helps with everything else. But even just going outside and walking, like stretching, it could just be playing a sport that you like, something to just get your body moving, dancing, that's a huge one too. And then for the nutrition, getting that proper nutrition in, just trying to get a little bit better each day, and then your recovery too. So sleep really impacts your mental well-being, physical well-being, your spiritual well-being too. So all those things play into it. So
As we're going over this, I'm realizing, and we'll probably be able to recap on this, but things that you do that intertwine all three are like the most powerful for us.
yes.
So we'll keep going, but I'm just having a realization that
Yeah.
like not only do they all feed into each other, but there's ways that you can incorporate all three into one. I think
Yeah.
that's the most powerful thing that we can do for
The
whole
big ones
health.
to focus on.
Yeah.
For me, one just popped in my head was going deer hunting. So for me was spiritual was harvesting a deer and being able to sit out in the woods. Mental was, spiritual, like having a connection to that. And mental was like sitting there without my phone, staying in my pocket, just focusing on the task at hand with no distractions. That was a mental challenge. And then physical was hauling that deer out. I'll tell you that. So,
Yeah. There you go.
yeah.
What are some physical wins that you all do on a daily basis?
Work out.
Yeah.
Get our workout in. I like to walk, like I said.
Right, the walks.
And that's a combination, I would say, as well, all three.
Yes.
Yeah, same. So definitely work out at least 5 days a week. Try to still get out and go for a run one day or walk. And even on the days that we don't work out, we try to do some sort of intentional movement, or get out of the house, do something. Those would be the ways that I'm moving physically. And then obviously with the nutrition side, I like to try to start my day with the healthiest choices, keep the healthy choices progressing, but then like if I want to enjoy myself at the end of the day, that's what I'm still looking for. So it's healthy nutrition 80% of the time, and it's in the beginning of the day. If you started your day with a donut or something that you really like, it's way harder to be on track for the remaining time of the day, whereas if you save your country for night, it's a lot easier. So it's actually a mental win to go through the day eating healthy and not having something that might be, especially if you work somewhere where somebody brings in snacks or donuts, things like that, like it's very difficult to say no to that. So that you could count as a mental win of, hey, I gotta say, I'm saying no now so that I can benefit later.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
The discipline to be able to do that for sure.
Yeah, and having that planned in too. You're not trying to be rigid to this one thing. You're allowing for that 20% or 10% that you want to add in of those more processed foods that we don't want to have all the time. But we know that the rest of our diet makes up good whole foods, like naturally occurring. There was one tip that I was watching a YouTube video on, and he said if it came from the ground, like was a plant or came from the ground, or if it had a face or was going to have a face, it's like that's what you want to eat 80% of the time.
Yeah.
Keeps it pretty simple.
Yeah.
It's like that's very accurate. Like if it was grown from the earth or was within the earth, or if it was an animal product of some sort, or came from a face of an animal.
Yeah.
Came from an animal with a face. That's
How
I
many
think I'll-
animals without face?
probably not too many.
But,
Yeah, but just the basic things of
Yeah.
whole things that came from nature, not heavily processed. Do we have anything else? to
Ooh,
add for
well,
physical
I mean,
wins?
physical wins like sleep and recovery is huge. We talk about that a lot. Like,
and mental.
yeah. Oh, yeah. Mental win, physical win. Like I have a pretty good nighttime routine. Like as we all mentioned, like most of us were eating before bed, so that kind of preps us for good night's sleep. But I also have like a bedtime, and it's not specific, but it's like a range. Like I want to be in bed between probably 7:30 and 8:30, and asleep between 8 and 9 p.m. typically on weekdays. On weekends, I'm not too far off unless we're doing something. So if we don't have any plans, I'm still going to be in bed, asleep probably by 10 at the latest. Just because I know that on the weekends, that's like my recovery. Like that's where I get to sleep in a little longer. I can kind of recoup and recover from the long week, and then I'm ready to take on the next week. I think a lot of people, they like struggle through the week so much, they can't wait to like let loose on the weekend, but what they don't realize is they're just setting themselves up for failure the next week because your body's in an even more deprivation of recovery and energy, and especially mentally. So then you rely on even more caffeine and things like that, and so use the weekends to like recoup and relax and recover, and that way you can tackle your weeks with more energy and feel better, in my opinion. Unless you have, obviously there's going to be weekends where you have things going on, you go out with friends or whatever, like what you did last weekend.
I'm still home by 10,
Yep.
10:30,
I mean,
which is nice.
yep. We hunted all weekend, but I was still like asleep probably before 10 every night.
Yeah.
We just chilled on the couch, watched Buck movies, and then fell asleep. So,
Yeah.
wanted to make sure I was getting enough sleep. So for one, I can stay awake and blind and
Yeah.
try to miss it.
I failed at that.
Did you fall asleep?
Yeah.
I missed it
A
very
couple
well.
times, probably.
Well, I gotta take those nice little power naps too.
Yeah, you do.
And power naps, I do that every
Little
day.
power naps.
20 to 30 minute power nap, usually in the middle of every day. Some days I don't get to it, but I realize that that's an essential piece of that routine.
I did do, was it Tuesday morning? It's called non-sleep deep rest. You guys have heard of that from Huberman. So there's a video on YouTube you can just listen to, and it's the, I don't know if it has like a sound behind it too, and then he talks you through like scanning your body and stuff like that.
It's like
And
a
so
meditation.
very much like a meditation, but also focusing on the breath. So like you're breathing and you're focusing on like the different parts of your body. And I felt very refreshed afterwards, even if it just was 20 minutes. There's some that are 10 minutes too,
Yeah.
where you lay there, there's nothing, just like you said, there's always something sensory coming in. And yes, that is a sensory stimulus coming into your ears, but you just close your eyes and then you listen to that, and it gets you to focus so much inward that it does feel very rejuvenating, like you did relax and like you had a nap. So that was good. If you're not great at taking naps, then that could be an option for you to give a little extra boost of energy. And the last one, spiritual win. So deepening the connection to yourself, others, and the world around you. And this can be, well, no matter what you believe, most people would find themselves somewhat spiritual in their own way. And spirituality helps give meaning to the actions that you take for your mind and your body. And when you feel connected, purposeful, it's easier to prioritize these mental and physical growth and these different activities that you want to start implementing. So some different ideas or categories for spiritual wins. There's connection, so spending time with loved ones or in nature helps to strengthen your emotional well-being. We know this through studies. It's just truth. Like you spend time out in nature, you're going to feel better. And if you spend time with people that you love and care about, you're going to feel better. And you know, whether that's something spiritual to you or not, it's part of this realm for a win. Gratitude is another one, which we've talked about previously, helps reducing that mental stress. You feel more present, feel more grateful for everything. And then there's faith and reflection, so prayer or meditation, giving that introspection and clarity. So in a way, looking, like reflecting onto yourself of, okay, how can I do better or be the best version of myself? Things like that would be under the reflection. Or like faith. How do I keep moving in this direction towards my purpose? Or what I believe I am to do? That sort of thing. And, you know, looking within yourself for that through the meditation or prayer or just time with yourself, breathing in a quiet moment where there's nothing else,
Yeah.
just sitting there with yourself. You can come to some different realizations and things through that. So, are there things that you all do that would fit under a spiritual win?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know you talked about yours
Yep.
with hunting too.
Yeah, immerse myself in nature as much as I can. Most of the time, some of the best things I've had have been like in really beautiful places. It's like North Carolina when I went to visit there, Arizona, but even just like up north,
Yeah.
in the middle of the woods where you can't. I swear, I came out of that woods and it was so quiet that when I heard my dad talk for the first time, it was like deafening. It was
Huh.
weird. Have you ever had that happen? It's so quiet to where your ears are. It's really weird. Anyways.
It just
Yeah.
almost no noise.
Yeah.
And then, yeah.
So yeah, something like that. That was a side note, but yeah, that and then just being quiet and being there with my own thoughts and like trying to meditate, doing just laying down and keeping my mind, letting it get distracted and pulling it back in, practicing that on whatever I'm focusing on, whether it's my breath or. But, yeah.
I experienced that when we were doing the quad trail race, where there was a point where there was nobody around me. It was just like I couldn't see Amanda in front of me, or there wasn't anybody behind me that I could hear, and all that I could hear was the rain falling in the like marshy trail woods, and it's not like a path, like it's like a deer trail. It's like you're running through ferns and stuff that have grown over. You gotta hop over logs and stuff. You're very in the nature, and like I can still picture in that moment where you feel alone, but then also just very connected and present to everything.
Yeah.
And it's a really cool feeling. Like you feel it's a spiritual thing. You feel
Yeah.
like in yourself, and that was very interesting, and I was very grateful for that because I wasn't listening to any music. You know, most people they've got some sort of music while they're running, and no music, nothing. It was just like listening to the sound of the rain, focusing on my breathing as I'm running, and it was just a very, very cool connecting experience.
Yeah.
I had a similar feeling when we did our half marathon because on Mackinac Island, like it's beautiful scenery. You're running through the woods and the trails, and there was a few times, like moments where you're just running along, and then you just kind of like instead of focusing on the run, and like I was just like breathing and looking at the trees and the sky, and just like taking it all in, and it was definitely a crazy cool feeling. Very like rewarding just to be able to do that and experience that kind of moment. And it was really blending all three together. Like it was a physical, mental, spiritual combination, which I think that, like I was saying earlier, is like the most powerful feeling. I mean, we can do something that combines with it.
Yeah, absolutely.
But,
I feel like anytime like you see the sunrise or sunset, it's just like especially if the sky like changes colors.
well, you see on Facebook all the time, people post like sunrises,
Seems like everyone.
Or like the Northern Lights.
yep, Northern
I
Lights.
don't know if you guys could see them like in person at all.
No.
Like I remember,
Isn't
like
that-
we were sitting in the backyard, and I'm like looking up at the sky. We're sitting by the campfire, and I'm like, why is the sky turning purple? I'm like, this is really weird. I'm like, did I take something weird? I was like, what's in my water?
That right there is actually a powerful example. I think it's very spiritual. It's like just sitting around a campfire with
Oh,
friends.
there you
It
go.
puts you in nature no matter where you're at.
Yeah.
And you could be in the city and have a little fire put on your back porch, and you could kind of be more connected with nature.
There's something about
There's something
looking at a
about just
fire.
watching a fire. You could literally do it for hours.
It's meditative.
And, yeah, it is. It's very cool.
And then when you're with other people, like you're very present.
Yeah.
As long as you're not like on your phone or something.
And that's why
like that.
campfire stories and all that stuff's so popular and
Yeah.
common. Yeah, it's very powerful. It's very essential for our well-being and health.
I think being outside brings the best out of people
Absolutely.
overall.
Everybody's lower stressed and
Yeah.
and focused and centered on the moment, and connecting with other people, which is huge. And you know, people usually tell stories or reflect on things when they're around the fire too. So that's really cool. So now tying all the three pillars together.
We didn't really go into all of us do
Oh.
spiritual stuff. Just did one.
Examples.
Okay.
Like daily.
What's a couple of quick things
So
you do?
yeah, I'll just do like the one that I do like every single day. I get up, I have my coffee, and I do a devotional, and then I journal about it, and then write out like gratitude. So that's something that I do every day. And I go to church every Sunday, so that's another spiritual thing for me. So
I started using an app called, it's like a Stoic journal, and so there's a morning and a nighttime journal with reflection about your day, and then ends the day with gratitude. And so I write down things that I'm grateful for, and I work on being very specific about it, because you can fall into the trap of being very vague with what you're grateful for. It's like, oh, I'm grateful to be alive, and it's like, no duh. Everybody's grateful. Well, most people are grateful to be alive, but the like getting specific about it. It's like, I'm grateful for the opportunity and the ability to have a car, so I can go and do fun, cool things, and like try different things, and you know, grateful for the different people in my life and what they bring and the good qualities and things that I appreciate about them, and things like that too. So that's one of the things that I do specifically.
I like spending time with family. So like, luckily for me, my parents live right down the road. Both of my brothers are still in Sinoski, so I try to go and see my dad every week, and we get together quite a bit for family occasions. So getting together with loved ones and friends, that's really important for me. I also I try to think of, I don't always write it down, but I think of things that I'm grateful for every day. And then I also try to remind myself of my goals and my purpose and my vision. So especially with like the gym and everything, like we talk a lot lately about what our goal is with the gym, what the vision is, and what we're here to do. We've got a lot of big, cool things coming to help us with the vision and the mission. So I have a lot of goals set, and then I remind myself of those goals every day, and that motivates me to do all the other stuff, such as the physical and mental things that I want to do. It keeps me pushing forward. So that's something that I do for myself, every day. And then obviously getting outside is another big one. I grew up in nature outside, hunting, fishing, riding forwards, dirt bikes. Like, we were out at that cabin every single weekend from when I was 2 until I was 16. So getting outside in nature is really important. I don't do it as much as I would like to, but I try to make sure that it's in my life.
Okay, I can recap everything.
Yep.
So how the 3 pillars work together. So like you said, when one hits all 3, then that's the biggest bang for your buck. Those are the most powerful things you want to practice. Physical health fuels your mental clarity. So your movement increases endorphins, reduces anxiety, clears mental fog, and your proper nutrition also supports focus, memory, and cognitive function. Your mental resilience supports your physical goals, so they work both hand in hand. If you're focused and motivated, then it helps you stick to your workouts and your nutrition, and the practices like journaling or meditation keep you grounded when challenges arise. And then the spiritual connection gives meaning to both. So reflecting on your purpose helps you to stay disciplined and keep these practices going with your physical habits. And then the gratitude and connection help to reduce your stress, so it creates that positive feedback loop for that mental clarity. And then, as an example, you start with a short walk in nature. So you go to the Diamond Trail in town and you do a lap, right? You're walking, you're listening to a podcast that's inspiring, and maybe you're learning something too. So that's, you have physical from the walk and spiritual because you're in nature. You have the mental from the podcast or audiobook that you're listening to. And then at the end of the day, you can reflect on that. On your day, that's spiritual and mental, writing in your gratitude journal. And one action flows into the next, and it builds a holistic sense of growth and balance. So the beauty of these 3 pillars is that they don't stand alone. And each one supports and strengthens the others, so that when you nurture your mind, body, and spirit together, you unlock a level of well-being that makes life more vibrant and purposeful too. And if you invest in all 3 daily, then watch how they elevate every part of your life.
Yeah, so I love that. I think it's just, even for me and probably all 3 of you, it's just refreshing to, I'll be able to recognize when these things happen throughout the day, even though we've probably been doing them all pretty regularly. Recognizing it, you'll have a whole new level of appreciation, and I think it'll enhance them all. It's like being able to actually be aware of, this is my spiritual win, this is my mental win, this is my physical win, and adding those up and recognizing it, I think at the end of the day will only help enhance the level of satisfaction and growth that you get. So I'm excited for this. I think it's very, very helpful. Beneficial.
There's cultures that believe that without all of those being strong, you're not whole. In order to be a whole person, you need to have all of those. Well, like I talked to you the other day about the medicine wheel. Yeah, so on the medicine wheel, there's spokes around the medicine wheel, and each of them stand for mental health, spiritual health, physical health, and we didn't mention the one today, but emotional health. And if one of those spokes is weak, the wagon's going to fall apart, right? So in order for it to be the best you that you can be, you need to have all those folks around. And I have a daily reminder right there. It's in the tortoise on my arm. So
Very cool.
yeah.
Exactly. But yeah, the takeaway from this and the way to implement it is to pick one habit for each, and you can always change it eventually, but just have one thing for each. And you can do more if you want to, but just make sure that you check off that one thing that's going to be like your main goal. And like, don't just take a walk and then count that as, oh, I did all three. Try to have 3 separate habits, and yes, they overlap some too. But pick 3 separate habits to practice. It can even just be 5 minutes for both of them, or for all of them. 5 minutes for each, and it's gonna make a difference.
For sure. Awesome. Well, this is very helpful. Hopefully this helped everybody. Make sure you like and subscribe so you can see the future episodes, and stay tuned for our cool big announcements coming. We have 4 big things that we're going to announce over the next couple months. So stay tuned for that, and we'll see you in the next episode. Later.